everyone that is joining us. We're at noon, so we're going to get started today. My name is Ellen Holste. I'm the Community Program Manager at Cedar Creek Institute, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. We're going to be speaking to and listening from some of our field station students today. So what the plan of attack today is that we're going to first hear from them in video form. They each made their own little videos about what their experiences at the Institute means to them. And then we do have some students also on the call today that you can ask your questions of. And then if we have time at the very end, we are going to premiere our new Head Starting Box Turtle video. And so stick around for all of that.
Hello, my name is Clayton Lewis. I'm a student at Western Michigan University, and the project that I'm working on this summer is titled Conservation Genetics and Demography of Hairy Sunflower. With the guidance of my mentor, Dr. Barkman, I'll be using genetic analysis techniques to look into the condition of several populations of hairy sunflower, which is listed as a species of special concern in our state. I've always loved nature, studying it and being in it. And since I've been doing a lot of molecular biology here in the lab, I've really been looking at nature in a new way, a way that I never have before. And this wouldn't be possible without the Cedar Creek Institute. Through the Institute, I have such a great opportunity to learn how to do scientific research. It really feels like the beginning of my career in science.
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela Corey and I'm a graduate student at Grand Valley State University. I'm currently studying under Dr. Jennifer Moore's lab, and my project deals with a threatened turtle species known as the spotted turtle, and specifically in Michigan. My project entails, and the questions revolve around what type of habitats they're preferencing, especially during times of drought such as this year. Also, along with that, we're looking at home ranges and how they fluctuate between male and female. And then lastly, of course, habitat selection based off of temperature. I attached transmitters in order to track 20 turtles this year and last field season as well. And then along with that, I added eye buttons to track temperatures every 30 minutes for this specific project, which is 2 years long. I'm hoping that my study's findings will really add to Cedar Creek's conservation and methods of conservation, especially within their property. It's possible that their property actually has spotted turtles within it, and hopefully with the findings of my study, it can help properly conserve and manage other local spotted turtle populations, especially within Cedar Creek, as this turtle population and species in general are getting closer and closer to being extirpated in Michigan. So we want the best conservation methods as possible, and we want to learn as much as possible about these turtles as well. So that's what I am currently focusing on. I'll give you guys a little scope of what I do for my project, and I conduct telemetry. So on each turtle, I have 20 turtles in this project. I adhered a transmitter on their carapace, which is known as their another name for their shell. And with these transmitters, each of them have a certain signal, which I channel in with my radio receiver. And then I use that signal to receive it. So a signal shoots out from my receiver, hits the transmitter, and then the radio receiver will emit a beep. And the louder the beep is, the closer I am to that turtle. So I'll be traveling around this field looking for my 20 turtles based off of each channel and how the receiver picks it up. So sometimes it can get a little difficult because some of the turtles are quite far away, or they're in some quite difficult terrain to get into, such as some areas are scrub and shrub and have tons of sumac. So I'm going to turn on my receiver, and you can hear quite a kind of buzzing noise, almost like a static of radio. And you can hear that beeping. I already put in the channel I wanted for the specific turtle that I wanted. I'm going to raise my radio antenna and then point it towards the direction where it seems the loudest. And so it seems to be in that direction, so that is where I'm going to be headed. We made it to our turtle. You can hear how loud the beeps are, which means we're really, really close. And we're pretty much on top of the turtle, which is great. I'm going to show you guys what they look like. So here is our turtle. This is a spotted turtle. On the right here, we have our transmitter, which we adhered to their shell with epoxy. And on the left, we have an eye button, which collects temperature. She was embedded in the sand. This is a female right here, number 101. And I've been tracking her for 2 field seasons now. I'm gonna put her back so she can go back into the mud. There she goes. And so what we do and what I do is collect data, which includes behavior, weather, canopy cover, what they're doing, where they can hide, and then the coordinates, which will allow me to understand what their home ranges are, movement, and then eventually behavioral patterns. So say goodbye to her.
Oh, hey, my name's Anthony Riona, and I'm from Grand Valley State University. I'm working on the Eastern Box Turtle project this summer, and I'm really excited to get some hands-on experience in conservation. Really hoping to have a positive impact on the community with long-lasting effects. That is me.
Hi, my name is Faith Kuzma. I'm a student at Grand Valley State University. This is my 3rd summer working on the Eastern Box Turtle project, and I'm super excited to take this research to the next level.
Eastern box turtles are native to Michigan, but in recent decades their populations have been steadily declining, resulting in a designation as a species of special concern. As a result of these trends, active management is becoming necessary to preserve struggling populations.
For this project, we are exploring head starting as a way to bolster eastern box turtle population sizes. Head starting involves raising young turtles in captivity where they can grow in a safe, protected environment. This allows the turtles to grow to a size that is less susceptible to predation, so when the turtles are released into the wild again, they should have a better chance at surviving to adulthood.
For the past 2 summers, we have protected eastern box turtle nests and brought hatchlings to John Ball Zoo. Zoo staff members fed and cared for the turtles for 9 months before we brought them back to Pierce Cedar Creek Institute to be released in the spring.
We have released 18 head-started turtles so far, and for the rest of the summer, we will be tracking their movements using radio telemetry so we can monitor their growth, survival, behavior, and habitat use. We also plan to protect more nests this year so we can release another batch of head starts next summer. Overall, we are really excited to learn more about the outcome of this head starting process and the implications it has for turtle conservation.
Hello, my name is Josh Arnold. I'm a second-year grad student at Grand Valley State University, and this summer I will be wrapping up my thesis research, which deals with translocation of freshwater mussels. For my project, we are looking at how differences in habitat and water quality can affect the overall success of the translocation effort. We are doing this by comparing growth rates between the source site and the recipient sites, and the recipient sites have varying degrees of differences in both habitat and water quality. I'm interested in working at the Institute this summer because Cedar Creek is where my project is located, and it is a very biodiverse stream with high densities of freshwater mussels. Previously, I worked for 1 year as a fisheries technician at my undergrad, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I dealt with identifying remote populations of wild trout in the mountains. And then I spent 2.5 years working as a fisheries biologist technician for Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, where I worked once again with identifying remote populations of wild and native trout in the mountains, as well as locating populations of timber rattlesnakes and doing various surveys for freshwater mussels throughout the state. Doing those freshwater mussel surveys is what got me interested in this project because we were studying translocations, and I noticed that a lot of the translocated mussels had very low growth rates and higher than average mortality rates. So I wanted to better understand what was going on with this.
My name is Sabrina Searcy, and I am from Valparaiso University. My project is called The Beauty of Insects and involves capturing the beauty through paint. I am creating paintings of insects that can display the unique shapes and forms of these creatures, as well as showing off how colorful and interesting they can be. I applied to work at the Institute because I wanted an opportunity to work closely with nature and paint insects that I could see in front of me rather than just from photographs. I always have been fascinated by nature and all of the forms of life that it holds, and I find that insects are often seen as ugly or gross, and want to help change this false perception through my art.
My name is Andre Kaptein. I go to Calvin University. So our project this summer is focusing on just doing a big tick survey throughout Michigan to look at tick distribution throughout Michigan and what could be causing their expansion over the years. So one of the main things we're focusing on is how wildlife could be a factor in that. One of the reasons I'm excited to be at Cedar Creek is just the chance to live and work in a community of other researchers and other people who are interested in the same thing, sort of. And so this is helpful because you can kind of get some experience in various different research projects and fields, and also have the guidance of faculty and the staff at Cedar Creek.
Hi, my name is Abby, and I go to Calvin University. I'm working on the TIC project with Andre, and I'm excited to be at Cedar Creek Institute because I get to work with people who have similar interests to me.
Back before my hands looked like his, my grandpa and I would spend late July mornings tending to the forest, wire wrapping Jack in the pulpits and stacking rocks on the riverbank so it wouldn't wash out. We spent our late July evenings in the comfort of my grandmother's blackberry pie and dark coffee, and the way I remember it, my young hands bled for ice cream buckets full of those berries. But they didn't. My mother picked the berries until I was older. See, truth is as flaky as pie dough, but only half as sweet. And sometimes I feel as though memory is nature's least reliable form of preservation. But now I'm grown, and my grandpa is a memory, nothing more, nothing less. And in a world where everything eats and is eaten, memory is the purest and most desperate way I preserve anything that truly matters to me. My name is Ivan Reynolds, and one day I'll be forgotten, but for now, I'm writing a book of poems on memory and nature, and for now, I'm the Nature in Words Fellow.
Hi, I'm Anna Miller, and I'm from Grand Valley State University.
I'm Kelly Giles. I'm from Western Michigan University.
And we're the Stevie Land Management Fellows. So I've been interested in science since I was a kid. I would always just play with bugs and rocks in my garden, and currently I'm double majoring in environmental science and natural resource management, so I'm looking forward to getting lots of experience this summer.
I've always been curious. I always say I have science-based curiosity, and I really became into nature, worked with my grandpa in his garden, and I have only been more interested as I work with animals and also tend to the plants at Western's greenhouse. And I am most interested in gaining insight into natural communities here at Pierce as I pursue wildlife veterinary medicine.
So some of our responsibilities include trail maintenance, planting native species, and researching natural communities.
On a typical day, you'll see us operating heavy machinery such as the mule, chainsaws, bushwhackers, or tractors, or diving into restoration projects.
So this season, we started out with our plant sale, where we raised over 40 different species of native grasses and wildflowers, which we either sold or gave to local gardens. And each week we co-host service days for volunteers here.
Our first service day, we used some of our leftover native plants and worked at the Shoreline Restoration Project at Charlton Park with our other student volunteers.
As a part of protecting the native plants here, we use GIS to track and keep track of invasive species along the trails here, such as garlic mustard or Dame's rocket. And after that, we can either take care of it and treat it right then, or we'll leave it for the volunteers for that following service day that week.
In addition to this work, we also collaborate with other institutions and researchers. We have been working with the Watershed Management crew as well as the DNR and Circle Pines on several occasions and look forward to more. The best part of our job is that no 2 days are the same and each experience is unique.
Hey, my name is Alicia Fritz. I am going to be a senior at Grand Valley State University. I'm majoring in natural resource management with a minor in biology and geology. What kickstarted my love for environmental science was my grandma, Loretta Fritz. She loved everything about nature. She cared about it. She saw that everything was interconnected and knew that because everything was interconnected, everything had a purpose and everything was important. And the way she expressed that to me sparked my passion for environmental science and opened up my eyes to how important nature is. And, you know, as a kid, I loved playing with snakes and turtles and frogs. And, you know, my happy place was the swamp. And it was just so full of life. And I really enjoyed, you know, the time I spent in there. And I wanted to protect that. I wanted to protect them. And the only way I could do that was by protecting their home, their habitat. And to do that, you have to protect the water quality and the vegetation and a bunch of other things that feed into it. And, you know, to do that, it's life's work. And I'm going to school for it. It's my passion. And I realized, though, that I felt very unprepared. I didn't have enough hands-on experience. So I applied for the Cedar Creek Institute fellowship, and I got in. And what I really appreciate here is that they incorporate the teaching with, you know, independence. As we learn, we get more independence, and I think that's the perfect program to create success. So that way, when I leave here, I am better prepared for the adult job that I hopefully get after, you know, I'm out of school. So I really appreciate this opportunity, and I think this place is good work.
Hi, I'm Allison Lester, and I go to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, studying freshwater science and sustainability studies. I recently finished my degree just a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm super excited to, you know, apply all of that knowledge that I learned in the classroom and the laboratory to real life natural resources management. I'm going to be one of the Cedar Creek watershed monitoring field technicians, and I'm working on data gathering for the Cedar Creek watershed. So various points along Cedar Creek, we'll be gathering data from there, as well as some of the surrounding lakes, gathering data for that watershed management plan. I initially got interested in environmental studies. I mean, as early as I can remember. I grew up very close to Lake Michigan, so it's close to my heart. But I kind of had an epiphany moment while I was visiting Washington State and doing a bunch of hiking out in the Olympic Peninsula in the summer of 2017. That kind of brought to the forefront and solidified for me the fact that I wanted to go back to school to pursue this second bachelor's degree to help protect and preserve our environment. So I sought out this internship or this fellowship in order to, you know, make some of those real life connections with natural resources professionals, learn the skills, work alongside them, and I'll bring all of these skills forward with me in my future career. So I am super excited to be here this summer.
Hello, my name is Elliot Fair, and I go to Grand Valley State University, and the project I'm a part of is wild rice, and we'll be looking at chloroplast DNA and phenotypic data for it. And then the thing I'm most interested about working at the Institute this summer is just getting to know and to learn new techniques, new things that would help me later on in my career. And then and I guess a previous experience that has got me interested in nature would be probably just my whole life. I've spent fishing and hunting, and it's been probably just a natural path for me to go down the road I am. Thank you.
My name is Christina Caterberg, and I am a photography and video student at Grand Rapids Community College. I have been interested in both nature and environmental issues since I was a child. I grew up in a remote area near the lakeshore where the landscape had a way of seeming more alive than the humans who wandered through it. I moved to this city when I was 9, so being here feels like a return to something I've been missing for a long time. I am working on a project that has a few different components. The first is creating a series of photographs that reference traditional landscape art and paintings while reimagining the genre for a contemporary audience. I do this using prisms and other types of cut crystal and glass, which creates a sense of suspension and otherworldliness in images in which this world is still very much the central character. The second part of my project is making an experimental film about the ecosystem of the land at the Institute. I'm capturing footage at different times of day and combining this with time-lapse videos and drone footage to give a comprehensive sense of the landscape. I also enjoy working with sound, so I have been going on walks at various hours and recording the different sounds that I encounter. I will later mix those recordings into a soundscape that will serve as a soundtrack for the movie. I am interested in working at the Institute because I've had a long-time passion for environmental art, and I have been curious to see how art photography and video could intersect with that art form. The grounds at the Institute are beautiful, diverse, and fascinating to work with, and the opportunity to work in the company of people who are studying and researching different fields provides a variety of perspectives that I would not ordinarily encounter. So far, I have really enjoyed my time here. I'm also really grateful for the space and opportunity to do this, and I look forward to sharing the final result.
It escalates.
Okay, so thank you so much to our students for sharing their experiences. I was inspired. I got goosebumps from that. So feel free to type into the Q&A any questions you might have for our students or our field station manager, Matthew Dykstra, who's on the call with us today. Anything you want to start off with, Matthew? Or Matt, excuse me. Nope, you're muted. There you go.
No, we're just all hanging out here right now, just kind of doing some of the normal things that happen on a Thursday, which is at this time, which is eating lunch. So people are kind of gathered together. This morning they spent, or most of the students spent time working on a service project with the Stevie Land Management Fellows. So they were pulling garlic mustard and Dame's Rocket and also collecting ticks unintentionally, and also getting poison ivy. It seems like so. A fun day for all.
And that's actually a good point to say, hey, if you have ticks, those students want those ticks, especially if they're the Lone Star ticks or the black-legged. Correct, Matt?
Yes, yeah, and there'll be I think, Ellen, you would know this. The information on the website been posted on posted in the kiosks.
Yes.
To record the ticks.
Yes, so we did put up signs in the kiosks.
So I know. Great. So I'm going to go to the question and answers. Daniel Burton had a question. Has there been any thought for head starting spotted turtles? And I think there's maybe been a little bit of thought about that. Right now, the challenge is we don't know much at all about the population here at the Institute. So most of Michaela's work is taking place at a different location. It's in Berry County, but it's a well-known spot and they previously studied spotted turtles at that location. For here, we know we have spotted turtles. We have found spotted turtle on a couple of occasions, but we don't know very much about the population. And it seems that it most likely is extremely small. And so because of that, it would be very difficult to head start spotted turtles unless we find a larger population, in particular find some nesting females. So if that happens, that might be something we would consider, but at this point, we're not, because we just don't know enough. it would also be, it's easier to head start than it is to do some type of introduction. And so it's just less complicated. You're working with turtles that you already have. And so if we don't really have a viable population here where they're even reproducing, then we may not be able to head start them. We would have to work with some other folks to maybe think about considering reintroducing them at some point. And that's a whole, again, like I said, a whole different, longer, more complicated process.
So I know, Matt, we have projects with eastern box turtles as well as I know we have Blandings turtles on the property. Has anyone ever thought about doing Blandings turtles?
We've had some work with Blandings turtles. I know, I believe it was 2 years ago. I'm looking at one of the students that's sitting right next to me, who would know. Faith, it's Kuzma. Sorry, I should know by now. They found some Blandings turtles. We know we have lots of Blandings turtles out here. They track them, but like compared to the eastern box turtles, they move a lot further. And so tracking them was a lot more complicated than the box turtles, right? So a box turtle is going to move, I'm gonna look to you, I don't know, 10 yards, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, maybe in a day, where, I believe there was a Blandings turtle that they, moved maybe several miles, right? So they kind of can get into the stream and then they'll go upstream or downstream and they'll just go for miles and miles and miles. So a lot harder to keep track of. They have a much larger range because of that. So we probably won't do anything in the short term with Blandings, because at least with some of that work, because it's just a little bit less conducive. So, and they seem to be doing quite well here at the Institute and in this general area.
Wonderful. Sarah had a question. She was interested to hear if there are any potential future projects students have come up with based on their time at the Institute so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of, people are a little bit scattered out, so I'm gonna ask that question and see if anyone has an answer for it, and then see if they're willing to get on Zoom for a minute. So I'm gonna mute myself so you don't have to hear me yell.
So Matt's just asking, give us a second while he asks the students the question, and then he'll come back on.
So Kelly Giles, who is one of our students, CB Land Management Fellows from Western, has an idea. So I'm gonna pass this computer along.
Oh gosh, I gotta hold it. Is it muted?
No, it's unmuted.
All right, I just had a cookie, so excuse me if my face is messy. I actually am interested in rearing butterflies. I have a connection at the Finch Greenhouse at Western, and I talked to my boss after watching a webinar about butterflies, and I would really like to get into special concern butterfly rearing. So that's something that I'm really interested in doing.
Wonderful.
All right. Anyone else want to share anything? I'm getting lots of no's. I think they're a little camera shy. So then Sarah had another question, which is, have we had any interesting finds by the water quality students? Any interesting fish, mud puppies, etc.? And not this year. We have just started. We couldn't really start collecting data until the beginning of June. And so we haven't spent a huge amount of time actually in the field collecting data. So we haven't, and the fish surveys are going to be coming up much later. Well, actually, it's going to mostly be in July. And so we won't find any of the interesting fish and or other things, the large stuff, vertebrates or something like that until July. The invertebrates, again, we just started looking. As of yesterday, we did our first site, and I don't think they found anything too unusual. Lots of interesting things. We'll obviously be learning a lot more about it as we go along.
I had a question for some of the tick researchers, if they are around. I have heard from many people. Oh, we're going to be moved that way.
I'll bring the camera over.
There we go. Sorry if this makes people dizzy for a second. I have heard from many people just talking to people that it seems like this season is a higher tick season. Have you been finding quite a few ticks? And I don't know if you have any data from past years. Does it seem like ticks are exploding this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have been, just from our data, we can't really figure that out. But yeah, in general, it's definitely like worse than it has been, even just like, but yeah, overall, like over the last 20 years, it's consistently been going up, but this year's like a pretty big spike.
Do you know what might make that spike? Is this something that we could potentially predict in the future?
One was like a pretty warm winter was one factor. So like that, fewer ticks are killed off. So like, there's a lot more ticks in the spring. And so that, that you can kind of predict as like, climate change happens a little bit. But other than that, I'm not sure what we know, but.
It's early, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. We appreciate all your work with the ticks, but that's another reason for hoping for really cold winters in Michigan, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I guess so.
Any other questions that people have, please put them in the Q&A or the chat. We're checking both, obviously. Any other things that the students want to add to what they've already told us?
Anything you want to add? No?
All right, well, if we don't have any other questions right now, I will show, we've been working on a box turtle video. We're going to premiere it now, so you're the first to see it. And feel free to type in your questions in the chat or the Q&A in the meantime. Oh, we do have another question. I will wait to premiere that before that question, and then we'll premiere it. One other question that we do have in the Q&A is, what are the most common mussels found? So for the mussel project.
Yeah, so Josh isn't here, so I can't get it quite right. I believe in his project he worked with a mussel that's called a spike. It's a relatively small mussel and it's fairly common. So he had some limitations with the mussels he could use. He wanted to use multiple species, but when applying for his permits, they were essentially limiting it to one that's fairly common. And ultimately, like in his project, mussel relocation is a big thing with dam removals. So mussels actually tend to like the water underneath the dam. But then if you take the dam out, which is really good for river restoration, you actually can destroy all this mussel. You don't necessarily destroy the mussel habitat. What you actually are doing, you might be killing a bunch of mussels before that habitat kind of can restore itself. And so hopefully that like his work will help, folks that are working on dam removal projects, help them actually protect these mussels, make sure that they survive. Because in the past, the survival rate has been pretty bad. And so he's been learning a lot about what it takes and the kind of care that needs to be taken with relocating these mussels.
Really important work, because quite a few mussel species are endangered or threatened or of special concern here in Michigan. So.
And yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to share my screen if no other questions are coming in right now. And as I said, feel free to type in those questions that you may have. I'm going to quick advance there. Feel free to type in those questions that you do have. But as I said, we do have a box turtle video. This is all about the Head Starting project. It's from the perspective of a baby box turtle. And so you get a slightly different perspective. This is the first time we're showing it to the public, so enjoy. And as I said, feel free to type in those questions in the chat or the Q&A while you are watching this.
Hello! Today I'm getting what these humans call a checkup. They are weighing me. They are looking at my eyes. And they're checking to see if my bones are healthy. Where am I? Well, it's called a zoo. John Paul Zoo, to be exact. and I have lived here for what seems like forever. My whole life, really. Because of all the dangers to me and my brothers and sisters, humans brought me here at the zoo. Who am I? Oh, I'm a box turtle. Some of these humans find it hard to tell me apart from the rest of my brothers and sisters, but not for me. Just look at my cool shell. My shell isn't just a home, it is also what makes me unique. Not one of us had the same shell pattern. And our shells are different from my mama's and papa's shells. Some say the home is where the heart is. For me, my shell is my home. And luckily, I bring my home with me wherever I go. You could call it a mobile home. But I didn't always live here at the zoo. Once upon a time, I was born in the sand. Actually, in a sand prairie. Here's my mama. Look, and there's me. This is my baby book. Mama dug a little room for all of us to stay warm. She covered us with a little blanket of soil. Until it was time to hatch. Here's me, still having my shell. I was so little. To break out of my shell, I started life with a tooth. These were my first steps in life. Look, here's my brother and me. My brother really did not want to leave his shell. Mama laid many eggs. So I have many brothers and sisters. All of us with the same birthday. Shortly after leaving our shell, we were all put in a box and brought to the zoo. I don't remember much about the place we were born. Grandmother Turtle said long ago, there were forests as far as the eye could see. Then loud noises came. And the trees disappeared. And other, smaller plants sprouted. Eventually, the strange noises stopped, and the trees started growing again. Now there are forests again, but not everywhere. That was all before my time. Grandmother Turtle said we still have to be careful around hard ground and fast-moving things with hard bodies like a shell. And scary animals that like to dig in the ground for our eggs. With long fingers and big sharp teeth. Yikes! Which brings us to today. We are told we get to go home today. We have gone big and strong at the zoo. So big and strong that we are going back to our forest and sand prairie. The one we were born in. The humans say that I will have a better chance of surviving now. I am so excited to explore it. They even gave me new jewelry to remember them. They call it a radio transmitter and tell me it will help them visit me after I go home. They attached it directly to my shell so I won't lose it. Grandmother Turtle has told me so many great stories about the big, wide world. Oops! I wonder what stories I will tell my grandturtles. What will my future be? Will you help? Help turtles cross the road. Restore turtle habitat. Please don't take me from my home. Support turtle research. Thank you. See you on the forest. Bye.
Okay, so that was our head starting of box turtles this year. We do have a couple more questions that came up in the chat, one related to our box turtles and another one related to our spotted turtles. So Matt, I don't know if you want to ask those questions. You're muted right now.
Yes, I know. All right, I'm going to pass this on to Faith, who can answer the question about the box turtles.
Okay. So no, the turtles that were too small to be released earlier this summer are still not large enough to be released, but we are monitoring them at the zoo and we're hoping to get them out here by the end of the summer.
What, just for everyone that doesn't know, just a second, Faith, what size were the turtles that we couldn't release? So what's kind of the minimum size that we can release them at, or maximum, whichever way you want to say?
Yeah, so when we put a transmitter on a turtle, we don't want it to be too heavy that it's going to inhibit its movement. And so we try to keep it around 5% of the animal's body weight. And so we need the turtles to be about 40 grams before we can put a transmitter on them.
So did we have a lot of turtles that didn't reach that 40 grams this year?
We had 7 out of the 20. So we released 13 of them earlier in May. But yeah, there's 7 that are still at the zoo.
Okay, thank you. We also had a question from Daniel. Has this year's drought resulted in any measurable change in spotted turtle habitat movement or habitat use yet?
I do not know. I think Michaela could answer that question for us, but she is not here today. She does most of her work kind of out in the field, again at a different location, so she's not here at the Institute very often. The one thing I would say, at least about some of the wetlands here at the Institute, water levels are coming down, but a lot of these wetlands are still spring fed. And because of that spring fed nature, they're still pretty wet. And so the drought can have an impact, but a lot of the impact on wetlands depends on where the water is coming from. If it's more of a surface water fed system or more of a groundwater fed system. And so it's probably having some effect, but not maybe not. It might not be as much as you might think because of that change.
And that's just a good plug to say, stay tuned. I know the researchers as well as the art and writing and natural resource interns will be talking about their experiences at the end of the summer, more fall time period.
Yeah.
Do you know about when that is, Matt?
Yes. So right now, assuming that COVID doesn't do anything new, our plan is to have our final report meeting on October 2. What we are planning on having is something similar to what we've done in previous years, where we do posters, as well as some readings of poetry, and have art gallery as well. And so that'll be on the morning of October 2. So we'll probably be open from about 9 or 10 o'clock until noon. So you can put that on your calendar. We'll be sending a lot more information in our newsletter as we get closer to that date.
Wonderful. All right. Well, if there are not any other questions, and I don't see any others in the Q&A or the chat, I'm going to let people get outside and enjoy the beautiful day, or go do your research or your writing or your art. And so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and learning more about our field station. And thank you, Matt, and the students for sharing all the wonderful work that's going on at the Institute.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone.